What's happening, Custom Vaquero Nation and YouTube? I know it's been a while since I checked in, but I've been working real hard trying to do some different stuff to my bike. Um, I shut my bike down early this year. Um, I wanted to do a lot of audio upgrades, and I feel like one of the biggest things to being able to compete is having enough power. So my bike, being a what everybody call a rice burner and not like a Harley, uh, our bikes have really small batteries. They're not equipped to deal with the extra draw and the extra push that an audio system kind of throws at it. So one of my main things was to start out my upgrades this off season was to put a battery in the bike that is just as comparable as say a Harley battery. And that's what I'm going to do. I actually did a mod that I can thank TJ at DK Electronics. I can thank them for kind of giving me the insight on how to go about doing this. So basically, without putting my battery out here, because I have it stored somewhere right at the moment, the factory battery fits on this side of the battery box. So if I'm standing up, it'll be from maybe here to there. You can kind of see down in here where the padding is. Then the battery box has a plastic wall right down the middle. And inside this section of the battery box, there was this, which is the ECU. And then there are two more components of the ECU, which I have them actually tucked up under in here. And then there's a relay, turn signal relay. This bike has actually two turn signal relays, but I have them actually tucked in up under here. So what I had to do basically was I had to cut the middle wall out, and then in order to be able to use this section, the battery box came all the way up. So I had to cut the battery box halfway down. So you could kind of see where I was cutting, and I actually went a little bit further than I needed to. I was actually going into a different area. I'm glad I stopped when I did. But if you look down deep in there, you can see the other end of my ECU down up and up under. Which, as long as I have the rubber there and there's nothing that can catch the lines or anything like that, it's fine. There also was a wall that these fuse boxes hooked onto from right here. So when I cut this section out from under here, I cut the wall away, so there was nowhere for this to go. So it also made it easier for me to be able to tuck the ECU part. See, here's my ECU, the second section of my ECU. Once I put the battery in, which I've already actually put the battery in, the new battery in, it fits in there pretty much perfectly. The other part of doing this mod is changing your lines, because the actual factory battery positive and negative lines, they fit right here. Like just right there. You can barely move them. They're stuck right there. So what you have to do is cut those lines. You have to cut the positive and cut the negative. On the positive, once you cut it, you'll find 3 wires. You'll find an 8 gauge wire and then 2, I would say 12 gauge or maybe 14 gauge wires. When you get ready to do the whole putting this all together, you need to get really, really good copper butt connectors. And you got to make sure you have a great crimping tool. You have to crimp all that stuff together. It can't be any looseness. You don't have to solder, but it has to be crimped. The other part of it would be the negative. The negative had a it had two ground wires. It had two ground wires, and then it had a 8-gauge wire that they were considering the ground that went for the actual battery. So you had two small ground wires, which I believe those wires grounded pretty much 90% of the bike. Because if you look, let's see, if you look close, let me see if I can set this up. Okay. If you look close down there where I put the light, there is a bolt down there. If you unloosen that bolt, wow, I don't have it. Okay, there it is. If you unloosen that bolt, that's basically the wire that goes up to your battery. So that's the ground point. So what I had to do, and I didn't want to take my bike completely apart. I just didn't want to do it. I got so many wires and shit. Probably the next time I pull my bike apart like this, I will redo the wiring. I had someone else run my initial wires for my accent light kit, and I think I could do it way more efficient. It was during a time when I really did not work on my bike and didn't have time, so I just basically paid someone to do it. These wires here, a lot of this I have done, but I've worked around where all of the accent wiring is. Not to mention I have ABS. So all these components on a bike that doesn't have ABS are not here. So I have to work between and around all of that stuff too. But back to the ground wire, like I said, there was an 8-gauge wire, and then there was two 14-gauge wires or 12-gauge wires on that line also. So you had to butt connect all of that stuff together. And you have to, I put heat shrink, waterproof marine grade heat shrink on it just to make sure. Then on the ends, I made sure I put copper, really good copper, so I can make sure I got really good connections. So this is now my power wire, which is 4-gauge, and this is my ground wire, which I kept 8-gauge. I had actually did the whole changing of the wires twice. And that's because I didn't like how they were connected. I wanted to be a really solid connection. So I cut it and had to go back and do it again. And this time I'm finally done. I got it exactly the way I wanted. The wire is long enough. And what I did, I cut a section of the battery box out so the wires can actually go in. And when my battery is down in there, it sits this way. So my positive is way over here and my negative is right there. On the old battery, it's turned this way. The positive is right here and the negative is right there. So it's a lot of little changing going on. So once I put the battery down in there, it's kind of hard. It's a tight fit, and it's a little bit difficult to just pull the battery out of there. But it was a little bit difficult to pull the regular battery out from the sideways. But with the battery that I have now, there will be absolutely no way that I can run out of juice just running my bike and just a regular sound system. I'm going from, if we just speaking in lithium terms, I have a battery that is basically probably 6 lithium amp hours. If you convert it from acid to lithium, it'll probably be about 6 lithium amp hours. So now instead of putting a 6 lithium amp hour battery, which is acid lead in there, I'm putting an actual 24 amp hour lithium battery in there, and it'll fit in the whole section. It's not like I used the section. I took the toolbox, the tool panel that goes over the top of the battery. That's been removed probably for 2 or 3 or 4 years. But once I put the battery in, I tuck the ECU down, and I tuck the fuse boxes down, and I bolt these back down. These are my controls for my air ride. Excuse me. These are my controls for my air ride. My hand controls that are all up on my handlebars, and those are courtesy of AirFX. They're a great company. Anytime you think you might want to get with them, there's a number. They're great guys, great guys. But yeah, once I put the battery down in there, I bolt my controls back, tuck my fuse boxes down, and put the last piece of my ECU down, and it actually fits in there. It fits in there like that. So you see there's a little area for the battery, and then I'll slide my wires down and bolt them, and they'll fit directly. Basically, what happened when I went to order my lithium battery, they have 2 batteries that are the same size, but different amount of amp hours. So I got the basic battery, what was 15 amp hours. I brought it, pulled it out the plastic, jammed it down in the bike. I did all my adjustments and everything. I seen that it would work, seen that everything would fit in there, even though I knew, because DK Electronics, they had done it already to a friend of mine's bike with a G30 battery. So I knew that it would fit, but I'm not DK Electronics. They're a class act. They're a great company. They do a lot of audio, and they do a lot of different things that I haven't even touched yet. But you guys have seen a lot of my videos. I like to do my own work. I like to try to learn as much as I can. So I said to myself, if it can be done, if I take my time, I can do it too. So that's what I did. I'm going to do a part 2 of this video. And in part 2, I will show the battery actually down in there with the bike started. All these panels and stuff will at least be on. I'm working right now to do a new touring pack. I don't know if I showed my old one, but I'm working on doing a new touring pack. This one is going to be more audio based. So this was my touring pack when it just had tweeters in it. It had tweeters in the front of it. But my new touring pack will have an array of different audio equipment inside of it. So that's me touching base. I will be back in a couple days with that upgrade.